Bet's live stream. Another rough one for your boy, Jeff. Another rough one. I went 0 for 3.
Killed?
I went 0 for 3 yesterday.
Oh, jeez. Wow. I did not go for 3.
I've lost like 9 bets in a row. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, well, because you start pumping out your chest, and you know what happens. It's like somebody texted me yesterday. They said, Seth Davis makes picks too. And they said he was pumping his chest out that he went 6-2. And then yesterday he went 2-8 or something like that. You got to be careful. And that's what I've tried to do. Listen, I had a good early part of the season. I was happy. I talked about it a little bit, but not nearly as much as I could have. And I'm hoping the gambling gods will look down on me favorably because of that.
Yeah, I'm still in the green, barely in the green on bet spurts. So that should tell you where we were before this. But yeah, it is what it is, man. You have just as good of a chance of going 0-9 as you do of going 9-0. That's what it comes down to.
Over. Overall on my picks, I'm 5 over 500 in bet spurts, and I'm like, if we look at the overall, I'm 50 over, which is pretty good. But again, it can turn quickly. So last night I think I was 3-2.
So let's talk about last night. We Memphis finally got a win, which is something that neither of us thought would happen. They shot 11 for 18 from 3. As a team that was shooting 30% from beyond the arc coming in. So, Jeffrey, did they figure out their shooting problems, or was this just a thing where they kind of got hot on the right night?
I like the way they moved the ball. I did a podcast last night with Antonio Anderson and former Memphis star, and we talked about that they were playing unselfish. That was, to me, when I was watching them, I was like, all right, this isn't AAU ball. They're not shot hunting. Normally those guys, a lot of them are shot hunting, whether it's Landers Nolly, DeAndre Williams, DJ Jeffries, Boogie Ellis. They weren't doing that. They were spreading the wealth and just moving the basketball and getting uncontested, easy looks and making them. Now, half the battle is getting them. The other half is making them. They were doing both of that last night.
Yeah, I think it really was just kind of that simple. It will be interesting to see how this continues. It's very easy to be unselfish when shots are going down and everybody's making stuff and everyone's getting going. The big question is what happens when they're not shooting 11 for 18 from 3? What happens when it's not going as well offensively? Are they going to revert back to what they were for the last basically entire season? So I think it's a promising start and a promising sign, especially if Memphis wants to get back into the NCAA tournament. I think they probably have to win out at this point to really have a chance at that large. I don't even know if that's possible.
They're not going to win out. We know that. Let's not even talk crazy here. Okay, let's just talk about getting momentum and being relevant again and building on this year, for next year. Because if they bring back everybody, Moussa Cisse looked good in the second half. He was awful in the first half, and he looked really good the first part of the second half. And maybe he's got to come back, so if you get everybody back and you have a veteran-laden team that has talent, you might have a chance next year. That's what you're playing for to me is next year being a year where you can actually do something that's not just about expectations that you're not living up to, but it's realistic because you've got a team that played together, that grew together, that lost together, that now is going to be able to win together.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams that we could be saying that about too, by the way. We could be saying that about Kentucky. We could be saying that about Duke. There are a lot of teams that need to start planning for their future a little bit based off of who is coming back to school. All right. We probably buried the lead on this one.
You think?
Considering that
we started with Memphis. What was wrong with you? Really?
Well, it was the first game that showed up. So I'm looking at a schedule, right? And that game tipped off at 7 p.m. So it was the first game that popped up on my list.
This was bad hosting by your part.
No, it's not. It's great. It's great hosting. Because the people that are listening
for tomorrow.
Oh, so yeah. You already. Oh, I won't make that joke here. I won't make that joke here.
I know where you were going.
Yeah.
I know where you were going.
All right. So Indiana went into Iowa.
Yep.
Is it Cedar Rapids? Is it the one? I don't even know. Iowa City. I think it's Iowa City. They went into Iowa City. They went into Iowa City.
I've been there, and I
don't off the Hawkeyes. They beat the brakes off the Hawkeyes. They were, I think, Iowa was up 53-44 at one point in the second half. and Indiana went on a 25-3 run, ended up winning by 12. Jeff, is this the start of the Fran fade?
No, it's not the start of the fan fade. Come on.
The fan fade?
Fan fade. No, it is not the start. This is what Iowa can be on their worst night, right? Like a team that can't guard, that an Indiana team that can't score generally puts 80 up on you. And, oh, by the way, you can't outscore them, which on a lot of nights, even if Iowa gives up 81, okay, go ahead, give up 81. We're going to score 85. We're still going to win the game, but not when you shoot 5 for 23 from 3, and not when Jordan Bohannon reverts to the early season Jordan Bohannon, right? Like, he's been great over the last 3-4 weeks. He was not good last night. Neither was the whole team other than Luka Garza. Now, as we talked about going into the game, that Luka Garza, Trace Jackson Davis, it was a draw for the most part. And, like, that's a huge win if you're Indiana. If you can get a draw out of that, that's a huge win. But even going in, you're saying, like, all right, where else is Indiana going to win the battle? Right? Well, they won the battle just by the simple fact that Iowa could not make shots, period, and does not guard.
Yeah, I mean, the big problem was that Iowa shot 5 for 23 from beyond the arc. Jordan Bohannon was completely ineffective, and C.J. Frederick was hurt. And once that happens and you start having to rely on Connor McCaffrey as a floor spacer, and you're asking guys like, as much as I love Keegan Murray and as interesting as Patrick McCaffrey can be, when those guys are being asked to, like, play significant roles at the same time that they're on the floor with Luka Garza, it kind of forces you to play that 2-3 zone.
I would have played Murray more. I would have played Murray a lot more than they put. I would have force fed him 30 minutes last night.
They should, honestly, they should be force feeding him 30 minutes every single game.
Every night. His upside is really high. He gives them something that they don't have. To me, again, like Connor McCaffrey, I get what he gives you in terms of toughness.
There it is.
There it is.
That's probably Fran McCaffrey texting you and saying, "Stop talking shit about my son."
No, what he's saying is, don't talk about my Fred.
Yeah, the fan Fred. There he is again. I mean, look, that this is what Iowa is, right? Like this is why it's very difficult to back them to win a national title. You can back them to win the Big Ten because you can have bad losses in the Big Ten and still make it up. This is why it's very hard to back them to win the national title.
Listen, we're not saying I don't think anybody thinks they're going to win 6 straight. I don't know anybody who is a believer that Iowa can win 6 straight. But can they win 4 straight, Rob? Can they get to the Final Four? And then it's like, all right, like anything can happen, especially in this year.
Here's the thing. It's basically – so they're probably going to end up being like a 1 or a 2 seed, right? Depending on how the rest of the season plays out. So if they're a 2 seed in the first round, they get they're going to play some terrible 15. So whatever. So that's kind of a write-off. Right. And so it's basically they have to win – yeah, they have to win 3 games against quality competition. Someone like an Indiana. Yeah. Then they have to get someone like Illinois, and they're going to have to get another elite team to make it to the Final Four. And I don't know if they can do that because I don't know if they can beat another elite team. Like that's my big concern with them is that there's going to be games like this where they don't show up and they don't make shots. If they're not making shots, they can't win another way. Like that's why I think someone like a Gonzaga or someone like a Baylor, to a point like a Villanova and a Michigan, they can win different ways, right? Like Baylor can win your defense.
It's hard to win if your defense isn't very good. Like it's one thing. It doesn't have to be great, elite level. But it's got to be good enough to where if you have a night like this offensively, you can still grind it out. And Iowa they don't have that. They don't. Mm-hmm. That's where they're limited, and that's where you're right. Like I'm probably not going to pick them to go to the Final Four because of that. Because one of these nights they're going to go 3 for 20 from 3, and unless Lucas scores 40, they're going to lose.
Yeah, and I think there are situations where like you don't mind if Lucas scores 40. If Lucas scores 40 and you let him go one-on-one of the post every single time, and don't let Iowa get any open looks from 3, like you're fine with it. He had 28 last night, and they lost by 12 at home.
But again, 28, right? You had Trace, so you didn't have to double him. That's the key. If you've got another big where you don't have to constantly bring help, that's huge.
The thing is, there's no big guy in the country that can stop Luka one-on-one.
No, agreed.
There are big guys that can make him work, and that's really what you need. Yeah.
That's all you need. That's all.
Yep.
Exactly. Nobody's going to be able to neutralize him completely. But again, 28 is fine if you're not giving guys open threes. And they got some and missed some, but they're also more contested threes, I thought, last night than Iowa usually gets. All right. The other big story was what, Rob?
Was it Rutgers losing? Was it Arizona winning at the buzzer? Was it UCLA, Colorado State?
It had to be the Miller brothers. It had to come on. It was the Miller brothers.
Of course, you're talking about Arizona going out and beating a team that is completely irrelevant in your Arizona State Sun Devils.
But it's
so hold on. You know what? Can I ask you one question before we get into this conversation?
Yes.
At how many more years are you going to be on Arizona State like you were on Alabama? How long do you think it's going to be before Arizona State finally comes good? Wow. It took you 3 years for Alabama to finally get that one right. I think you're at. I think you're at 4. How long has Bobby Hurley been there? 4 years at Arizona State. I think you're at.
The talent on this team. You've got a senior point guard in Remy Martin, who I never fully bought into, but you did. Hey, you had him as a preseason All-American, didn't you?
I said that he would. I said he would make a preseason All-American team, because of who he was, and I think I might have had him. I might have had him third team because I figured Arizona State was going to. I mean, if he averages I figured he was going to average 20 points and 6 assists for a team that would be in and around the top 25, and that has to be in consideration for an All-American team.
Did you see the?
But just because you put up numbers doesn't mean you're going to be playing on a winning basketball team and a title contending basketball team, and I think that's always been my concern with him. He's an empty calories guy. What do you got? What is that? Is that Eddie House?
No, that's Marvin. Papa Bagley is what I call him.
Oh wow,
that's Papa Bagley's shirt.
Oh wow!
For last night, can I tell the story of Bagley's father, Marvin Sr.?
Yes, please. I love.
But I'll keep it to the one.
I know a couple that you have, so I'm very curious to see which one you're about to tell us.
I mean, my favorite one. I mean, listen, there's many. I can go through it. We started off with a rocky relationship. We don't have any relationship now, but the first time I was trying to get his kid, Marvin was ineligible to play at a high school tournament, and I was doing the tournament. I was doing the event, and so he was like a sophomore or junior in high school, and I'd already talked to him off camera. And good kid, I love him. Both his sons, I love them. So I wanted to just ask him 3 questions on camera, and they were going to be the easiest questions to try to make him look good. He's in high school. I'm not trying to make him look bad. Oh my God. It was like pulling teeth. I had to spend an hour and a half on the phone with Papa Bagley about the questions and this and that. And I'm like, trust me, I'm trying to make your kid look good. And finally he relented and we did it after he had to know every question. Then he barges in at Duke. We're doing sit downs at Duke with all the players prior to the season. And he barges in and sits in with his wife on these sit down. I've never had this happen in college, ever, ever, ever. I'm like, dude, let your kid grow up. Let your kid be a man. And then the best one, here's the best one. So, he picked Duke over Kentucky and a few others. And Jason King and I are in Omaha, NCAA tournaments in Omaha.
This is the one.
And we're just eating. And again, I've had many dealings with Bagley's father. I don't think he knew we were sitting 10 feet away from him, literally 10 feet. And we're both watching tournament games. And this was the one where Kansas State beat Kentucky to go to the Elite Eight.
No, Sweet 16. No, Elite Eight.
Elite Eight. It was a Sweet 16.
Yeah.
They beat him. And it was this one that nobody thought Kansas State had any chance whatsoever. And Duke had just been knocked out the day before of the tournament. So he was staying, obviously, they might have been knocked out that day. we were all staying at hotels right around in Omaha, a bunch of hotels there. This was like the sports bar restaurant. And I don't think he saw me, but I didn't hide. I was 10 feet away from him. And I'm eating with Jason King, and we're watching the end of the game, and we're all in shock that Kansas State has just beaten Kentucky. It was like one of the bigger upsets you will find. And all of a sudden, the game ends, and Papa Bagley starts sprinting around the restaurant, yelling, screaming, celebrating the fact that the Kentucky Wildcats had lost. I'm like, dude, I wanted to take video and send it to like Deadspin or something and be like, look at this knucklehead. Like you're the father of a prominent player who is going to be drafted number whatever he was drafted. What was he, 2, 3?
Too high.
Yeah, he's a hell of a player. I actually think if he's healthy, he's a good player, but he doesn't fit in today's NBA as much as he did 10 years ago. Like I said, I have nothing against his kids. I love his kids. I think Marvin plays hard as shit. I think Marcus is going to be a really good NBA player and should be a first-round pick. But, man, Papa Bagley is a different dude wearing an F. Tucson, sweatshirt before the game last night. Just come on, man.
It's kind of funny, though.
It is funny.
It's kind of funny.
He's funny. It just
he's a complete maniac, but like that's the fact that he showed up to that shirt or to the game in a fuck Tucson. So it's like, who does that? That's just so ridiculous. Like that's pretty inappropriate.
If you want some apparel, I'm sure you can get it from Team Bagley. Maybe I'll wear it.
I'm still waiting on my Big Baller brand shoes. So as soon as I get those, then I'll go and buy.
You probably did order them. You probably did.
Hell no. Those things are so ugly, man. Although I will tell you this,
ones, didn't you?
I would not have minded like being able to have a pair, because I bet in like 25 years, if you just leave them in the box, at some point those are going to become a collector's item. Because LaMelo Ball, like
ones, those are big money.
Whatever they end up being, like one of the if LaMelo ends up being like a superstar.
He might
which he could be. Being able to say, like, I got the original Melos from the Big Baller brand. In 25 years, those could be worth like $10,000.
If LaMelo gets his shot right, there's nothing he can't do on the court. And he's even guarding a little bit.
Except play
no,
defense.
No, if you watch him.
I've always said
he's trying. And like
that's the thing.
He's fully capable.
I've always said the issue with him defensively was he never once in his life had a coach that held him accountable on that end until he got to Australia. And when he got to Australia, I was one of those sickos that went out and watched every single second that he played in Australia. And you could see it from the first game through the last game. Like he was getting better.
Yep.
And there were still like way too many moments. I swear, Jeff, it was unbelievable. I counted 5 times where he was like in weak side and was supposed to be like tagging a roller or supposed to be getting to the charge spot or something. And he's just staring off into space, like wiping the bottom of his shoes. Wiping the bottom of his shoes.
No, he still does it.
Like he's just watching a guy go dunk. He's supposed to be tagging this roll, man. He's watching the guy catch a lob and dunk it as he's like in the short corner wiping his shoes. Like, what are you doing, LaMelo?
He's better though. He honestly, I'll give Borrego, right, is the coach down there. And those players credit. And I think they really do like him. Like he is a fun-loving, smiling.
I'll tell you this much: if he is going to be so much fun for NBA guys to play with because of the level of his passing.
Oh.
Like he can make every pass. I don't say this lightly. Like with the ball in his hands, he's a basketball genius.
Yeah.
Like a legitimate basketball genius. The passes that he can make and the people that he could find.
And it's better than Lonzo in a way. Like I didn't think so. I liked Lonzo better because Lonzo to me was more of a winning player, like valued winning and making the right play. But here's the difference with LaMelo, and you'll know this more than anybody, is he's 6'7". He sees over everybody. And everything's no look, which I don't really love. It's fun to watch, but everything's flash. But bottom line is he's more athletic than Lonzo, and he's longer, and he sees everything. Lonzo sees everything too, but it's almost like Lonzo gets rid of it too quickly in a way sometimes. Where LaMelo,
I was just going to say the difference is where Lonzo is an elite passer is in transition, like the hit ahead stuff. The reason why it's so awesome watching him with Zion is It's just the way that like Zion can get out and run the floor, and you got the lobs and all the hit aheads and all that stuff. But Lonzo is. I'm very, very high on Lonzo as like a great complementary piece.
Yeah.
I think if you have a secondary ball handler is good. The reason why I was so high on Tyrese Halliburton and why I was shocked that he fell to 12 is because to me he's basically a Lonzo clone and probably better than Lonzo at what he does. Like they're both really good positional and team defenders. They're both terrific secondary playmakers, meaning like you don't want them to initiate the offense every possession, but when the rotation comes and the ball gets to the weak side of the floor, he can run a ball screen, he can move the ball, he can find the right player, he can find a cutter, he can throw, he can do all those things. He knocks down open shots, right? He's got positional size, you can switch him, he can do all of these things. Like he is a great secondary option. If Lonzo Ball is like your third or fourth best player, playing next to someone that is an elite point guard, playing next to guys that can make threes, that you have a very, very good team. And that's why I'm really bullish on like the Pelicans moving forward.
I thought
I love him as a piece.
I thought he'd be an elite point guard. I thought he'd be a primary guy. And that's what surprised me. But I think you're right. Like he's played in transition so much in his life. It's almost like it's taking time for him to learn how to play in the half court, where to me, LaMelo can play either. Like he's better in transition again, but he's fine. If you watch him in half court, he's
unbelievable in pick and roll. Like his
handle is so
unbelievable
good
in pick and rolls.
Right,
yes,
because his handle is great.
That's the other big difference.
He leaves his feet. Like that's the one thing Lonzo doesn't really do. Is LaMelo can like leave his feet, which is a taboo in so many ways, and still make the majority of the time a play that is a easy play for another teammate. Like instead of a turnover, he'll make some, but like I don't know. Anyway, let's move on. This is way too much about the Ball family.
I don't know how we ended up on the Ball family, but I
have no idea.
I think that's another situation where it's very easy to dislike the patriarch of the family, while both of the kids seem like like LaMelo. The fame went to his head a little bit, but he's like overall seems like a pretty
I'd like to honestly. I would like to personally see LaMelo again and not apologize, because I was actually trying to help him in Lithuania, and they didn't listen to me with me trying to help him. And hey, smile, say more than one sentence when you're coming off the van for your first game. Like they were just doing what that idiot Alan Foster, their business manager, was telling them to do. And really, LeVar was just doing what Alan Foster told them to do, ultimately.
How did that work out?
Bigger issue when he was stealing money from him left and right.
Yeah, I was going to say, how did that work out?
But all right, let's talk. I really like LaMelo. I always liked LaMelo. I just thought LaMelo had a lot of growing up to do, on the defensive end. And it wasn't his fault that he's jacking three after three after three, and his dad's smiling and telling him to keep shooting it. Like I don't. In Lithuania, those players did not like playing with LaMelo Ball. They didn't like LiAngelo Ball because those they were kids. Like LaMelo was 16. He shouldn't have been there. Like, and there was no accountability. That was the problem there. Is his father didn't make him accountable. His father just fed into all his bad habits at that point.
All right, let's talk about tonight. There's one game worth mentioning on the slate. It's Michigan at Purdue. Michigan right now is laying 4.5. The total there is 139. Jeff, what do you like?
Oh my God. I think I'll take the points. I think I'll just take the points on Purdue. I don't love this, but I feel like, listen, it's like the only real game of the night, big game. Got to do something with it, don't I? And Trevion Williams scared me in that last game. He just commits some dumb fouls. If he can stay in the game, I think he's going to, Hunter Dickinson has struggled the last couple games. And I don't think if you're Hunter Dickinson, you want to see Trevion Williams right now. So,
yeah, so my problem is that you got to worry about Trevion Williams defensively. And Michigan does run some ball screens. Like they do have a little bit of a modern offense. Like you mentioned, Hunter Dickinson is very good at getting people into foul trouble. And Trevion Williams is averaging 4.8 fouls per 40 minutes. So it's not exactly the greatest matchup. I think that what we saw out of Michigan against Maryland this week is kind of a sign that, like, okay, they realize that they have some issues. Dickinson was much, much, much better passing out of the post than he was against Minnesota.
Yeah. Yep.
And, with they also have Zach Edey in there. So in my mind, like, I kind of like Michigan in the spot, which is why I'm going to take the points and I'm going to bet on Purdue, because I haven't gotten a bet right in like 3 days. So well, no, because I like Michigan. Like, I think that Michigan is the play. So I'm betting on Purdue. So I'm fading myself.
Okay.
Like, sometimes you got to realize that you're an idiot. You can't get anything right. So I'm fading myself. I'm putting the bet in right now, Jeffrey. Right now, I'm putting the bet in, and I'm betting on Purdue, even though I like Michigan in this spot. So let's see. I put myself on the fade train, man. To
me, it's all about the young guards, like Jaden Ivey has to be really, really good. And he was last game. Obviously, he should have confidence, right? Like, after hitting that shot to beat Ohio State in Columbus, he should come in with a ton of confidence. I think he's got to play huge tonight. Stefanovic has to make some shots from deep, which he's done pretty consistently this season. I don't love it. I'm just going to say that this is going to be a close game. And Michigan has not played a lot of close games this season. I'm going to say this is going to be kind of a Purdue, kind of slopping it up a little bit, and it comes down to the end on a Friday night when there's nothing else major. I'm taking Purdue.
Yeah, me too. Hopefully, fade myself works out.
What else? Because
if I can't even fade myself, then it's done. We got to cancel the Best Bets podcast. I got to close down all my betting accounts.
It'd be bad. It'd be bad. You can't fade yourself. You're right.
I need to move out of the country and I need to call it a wrap.
What else you got? Anything?
No, nothing.
All right, I'll give you a couple.
Okay, give me some winners, please. Give me some winners.
So, in case you didn't notice, Greg Horrendous homecoming at Merrimack did not work out well. Merrimack, I got that one last night.
Right.
Covered fairly easily. Early on, FDU, came out of the gate strong, but they hadn't played in a couple weeks. Again, 2 of their top players opted out. I'm going Merrimack again. And honestly, Rob, I wore this shirt yesterday. I haven't showered yet. I may not shower all day today until the Merrimack game. So my poor wife.
Poor Melissa.
You got to do what you got to do for the Best Bets pod. You got to do it.
Poor Melissa.
Yep. No, I'm going to be really smellier than usual today. So I'm taking Merrimack's only given 1. I like that. So Joey Gallo, bring it home again, baby. Ohio U. I think they're going to start to get going here. Remember, they were without Jason Preston for a good part of I think it was 4 games or so. They're starting to get back in gear a little bit in the MAC. They have to play Ball State today at home, and give them 5.5. It probably seems like a lot. I'm going to say that Jason Preston has like a huge game today. And I'm laying the 5.5 with Jason Preston. And Jason Preston, I trust. And then I'm going to take UAB. Given an 8 against Rice. I think Rice is going to be out without their one of their better players today. So I'm fading Rice on that one. They're 10-4 overall. They've actually played very well this season. But Andy Kennedy's got a team, a bunch of dudes, transfers. They've been good this year for the most part. I'm going to take UAB as well. So I got 4. I got Purdue, I got Merrimack, I got Ohio, and I got UAB, and they're all no. I'm taking points with Purdue. Other than that, they're all favorites.
Yeah, I'm fading myself. I'm on Purdue. I want to be. I like Michigan. I'm on Purdue. So yeah, let's go. All
right, there you have it. Friday night. Make sure to. I will add some stuff today because you know me, Rob. I will add some stuff. So check your bet spurts as some information comes in today, which, trust me, Friday is the day that I just get some info throughout the day on a lot of these low and mid-major games. And, Friday, nothing to do. You're kind of watching the scoreboard. There's some games on TV. I'm going to check what the TV games are tonight and just kind of have some fun with them.
That's the way to do it. Jeffrey, it's been a pleasure.